Hello everyone, this is Colin once again. I'm making another video response to Ahmed's Quran 3. The title of this video is called Furthest Mosque, and it's part 173A and B. I'm only making one video because part A was rather short and quick to the point, whereas part B has most of the material that needs to be discussed. Now, Ahmed's Quran 3 mentioned in part A of this video that at no time was Gabriel seen by anyone. In other words, that none of the companions or the wives of the prophet ever actually saw Gabriel, who was the one who was revealing the Quran to Muhammad. Now, the problem with that statement is that he's not telling the truth. If you go to Sahih Muslim or Sahih Bukhari, I have the first volume of Sahih Muslim right here, you'll find in the section about deen or faith, it mentions that a man came to the Prophet and his companions and preached what Islam is based on, what the 5 pillars are and what the 6 pillars of belief are. And when that person left and they asked the Prophet who was this guy who had just preached to them, he said it was Gabriel who came to teach you your religion. So the companions did have physical interactions with Gabriel. Other people witnessed him as well, and people had indirect interactions with him. For example, Muhammad tells Aisha at one point that Gabriel is there, and Aisha actually speaks with Gabriel, says something to Gabriel. So the companions did believe that Gabriel was among them at times, and they did have, like I mentioned with the first hadith in Sahih Muslim and Sahih Bukhari, that they did have a physical interaction with him, that he literally appeared to them as a man. Now, the whole point of these two videos is that he's alleging that the night journey never happened. He mentions that this is basically a hoax, that the night journey story was concocted so Muslims can stake a claim on Jerusalem. Now, the thing is that really Islam does not need the night journey to have a claim for the holy city of Jerusalem. The city is claimed by Jews, Christians, and Muslims because it is the holy city of God Almighty. And in the Bible, in the Quran, it is said that it is a special city, that the land of Israel is a promised land mandated by God for people who believe in Him. Now, there might be some slight details that can be argued here, but essentially, Muslims do not just need the night journey story and the ascension of Muhammad to lay some claim to at least having some interaction in the city. Now, he mentions that the Bible mentions the name Jerusalem many, many times. I actually don't remember the exact number he gives. I'm sure it's a lot. And it makes perfect sense why it would be mentioned many times. He mentions that Jerusalem is never mentioned by name once in the whole Quran. Now, I agree with him. There is not a single time where the Quran says the name Jerusalem, but that does not mean that it's not mentioned or allegedly, or that it's alluded to. There are many times in the Quran when God talks to the children of Israel and says, when he mentions the promised land, he says, now you enter the city. What is the city that is being referred to? All Islamic scholars, now I know Ahmed's Quran 3 is of the opinion that we shouldn't trust Muslim scholars because they're deceivers, but if you look at what they say, it was basically understood by the companions of the Prophet himself, and the classical scholars, the city, which is being referenced along with the children of Israel in the Promised Land, was Jerusalem. So Jerusalem is alluded to in the Quran, but just not mentioned by name. Now, he goes on this tirade about trying to use Ibn first off, he says that there's only one verse in the Quran that talks about the night journey, and I agree with him on that. And then he I love how he sort of dismisses the hadiths, the details of the hadiths on the night journey. I love how he just really dismisses that entire, all the hadiths that are mentioned. There are several hadiths that are mentioned regarding the night journey. If you look at volume 1 of Sahih Muslim alone, which I have here, chapter 74, volume 1, starting with hadith number 162, and going to all the way to hadith number 168. And these are not small hadiths. These are hadiths that have several paragraphs in length. They go into great detail about the night journey. I love how Ahmed's Quran just sweeps those away, like they're totally irrelevant, even though that is the oral tradition of Islam, and therefore that the companions of the Prophet did believe in what Muhammad saw and interacted with. So instead of actually dealing with the hadiths like he should have dealt with them, probably because they are actually authentic in nature, he goes to Ibn Asaq, and I love when people abuse Ibn Asaq. Robert Spencer does this, and many people I dialogue with on Stickham, they also abuse Ibn Asaq. And I'll show you how he abuses it and takes it out of context. Now, first off, you mentioned in section 263 of Ibn Asaq, you quote Ibn Asaq saying, "It is pieced together in the story that follows, each one contributing something of what he was told about what happened when he was taken on the night journey." Now, you mentioned that, and you try and say that Ibn Asaq is applying this term, that these things are pieced together for every single story. You're being disingenuous. Now, why I say that is because he is mentioning the following story, which is talking about the matter of the place of the journey, what is said about it in a searching test and matter of God's power and authority, wherein is a lesson for the intelligent and guidance and mercy strengthening to those who believe. It was certainly an act of God by which he took him by night. In that way he pleased to show him signs which he willed him to see, so that he witnessed his mighty sovereignty and power by which he does and what he wills to do. This story is repeated, the night journey is repeated over and over again by Ibn Asaq, but you make it sound like that every story is under this criteria. That's a false statement. Let's look at the context. What does he say? First off, you do not mention the fact that it is reported by Zayd bin Abdullah al-Baki from Muhammad bin Ishaq told me the following. Then the apostle was carried by night from the mosque at Mecca to Masjid al-Aqsa, which is the temple of Aliyah, when Islam has spread in Mecca among the Quraysh and all the tribes. Now you make a big stink. You say, well, there was no Temple of Solomon. The Temple of Solomon was destroyed. You're absolutely right. Nowhere does it say that the prophet actually physically went and saw the Temple of Jerusalem. It mentions the temple at Jerusalem. But what was the temple? Well, according to Ibn Asaq, the temple is the Temple of Aliyah. Now, if you Google that, the Temple of Aliyah was built by Hadrian to commemorate the Roman gods. That is what was standing there after the destruction of Jerusalem's temple. Ibn Asaq says that is the temple that is there. But what is referred to by the temple? This whole area is called the Temple Mount. So if one were to say, I'm going to Solomon's temple or the Temple Mount, they're implying the land, the area which Solomon's temple used to stand on. But nowhere in the Hadith and nowhere in Ibn Asaq does it say that Muhammad actually physically went into the temple of Solomon. Nowhere does it say that. It mentions that he went to the Temple Mount or he went to the temple at Jerusalem, but it doesn't mention that it is the actual Temple of Solomon, but you imply that it is. Now, you then go on to say that Aisha apparently said this was just a spiritual journey. Wrong. You again take this out of context. It says, one of Abu Bakr's family told me that Aisha, the prophet's wife, used to say, the apostle's body remained where it was, but God removed his spirit by night. Aisha's not referring to the night journey. Nowhere is she referring to the night journey. She's just saying that God removed his spirit at night from his body. This has nothing to do with the night journey. You then go to another individual. Let's see, the following report has reached me from Hanin Abdul Talib, whose name was Hind, concerning the apostle's night journey, and you only quote this part. You say, she said, the apostle went on no night journey, except while he was in my house. He slept the night in my house, he prayed the final night prayer, and then he slept when we slept. You stop there. Why did you stop? Why? Because you didn't want to continue the context, because it would destroy your argument. It says, a little before dawn, the apostle woke us, and when he had prayed the dawn prayer, he said, "O Hani, I prayed with you the last evening prayer in this valley, as you saw. Then I went to Jerusalem and prayed there. Then I have just prayed the morning prayer with you, as you see." He got up to go, and I took hold of his robe and laid bare his belly, as though it was folded Egyptian garment. I said, "O prophet of God, don't talk to the people about it, if they will give you the lie and insult you." He said, "By God, I certainly will tell them." So you didn't quote the whole thing. This relative of Muhammad was not denying that this happened. You just didn't quote the whole thing. You didn't quote the whole story. You're misrepresenting Islamic texts once again to prove your bogus arguments, and that's what it comes down to. So thank you for watching, everyone. Peace be with you all.